And welcome back to the hottest marriage show in this room. It's I, John D.
Someone here. Kanika.
A.K.A.
Do.
And Too Much Podcast. Rescripting the culture one conversation at a time. How are you, my love?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Few more days left of summer school and then I can be off for 2 weeks. So looking forward to whatever the universe has planned for me.
Well, I'm still working. I don't get any weeks off.
Well, I just want you to know that I plan on being as productive as I can. I'm not looking for no time off, just more time to dedicate to the craft.
Okay.
No, that's for real, though. I do want y'all to know. But what's on your mind?
You know, I was gonna bring up something. Like, I don't know any couples that don't argue. It just depends on whether or not they fight fair.
Uh-huh.
And so I was wondering what you thought it meant to fight fair.
Oh, I think I've heard people say that, and just thinking about the different conversations we've had where it was arguing and things you always do this. Like whatever you said I used to always do, I didn't know I was doing it. So as I look back, fighting fair is doing something, well, not fighting fair, is doing something to just be right. Versus like, I'm here with this problem and you're distracting me because I said something. No, overall, I'm still bothered with this. No matter what you say, I said, because I didn't say it the way you wanted me to say it. I made you feel like this is so important right now. Like, how did he do that? Like, to me, that was something I would say, you're not fighting fair. Now looking, but I wasn't doing it on purpose. I was just avoiding whatever the problem was, because I felt like I was the problem. And so, you know what I'm saying? So, this is a problem. So let me deflecting it. So to me, not fighting fair is doing something to just be right. Not like are both parties satisfied with the solution? Mm-hmm. Or is this just, okay, we just go put this under the rug?
Well, it's a lot that happens before you get to the solution.
No, I get it, but I'm saying but it don't have to be a poor, engagement in words either.
Do you feel like there are some things that should be off the table? If we're saying that you're fighting fair, that means you're not doing, number one, distracting from the main point.
That's what I said. Most people, I don't think people do it on purpose. Because I'm telling you, looking back, I wasn't doing it on purpose. I just thought I had to be right.
Right. So on purpose, you would.
I know, but that's what I thought arguing was. It was just to me, I feel like if you agreed that I was right, then I didn't know that you were just for the peace. You were agreeing for peace.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even in me agreeing for the sake of peace, that wasn't fighting fair either, because
it was
the real problem
still
wasn't solved. Yeah. Well, so I was thinking about that, and recently we had an argument, and it was just escalating, and we could not make it stop. It was like you would try to say something, and whatever would trigger me, and then I would try to say something, and then it would trigger it. We were the volume was getting high. And somebody had said, if you're fighting fair with me, be fair. Remember all of the good things about me in the moment. Be objective in this argument. It's really hard when your emotions are raging out of control at some point. So at one point, I was usually when our arguments are over, you'll say, but I don't mean that. But that I just want this for us. But you know that. Even if you tell me all the time that you want these great things for us, in the moment, my emotions can't necessarily process all of that.
Oh, I know.
And previously, I used to say to him, I'm not I'm for you. I'm on your side. Even if we argue, usually I'm trying to get us to a point where we can slow down and meet some type of solution. But like you said, in the past, it was I need to be right. It wasn't getting to the solution. I just in the end, I need to be the one that's left on top. And so I don't know where I got this from, but somebody was saying when you argue, you should hold hands and look at each other in the face, because usually when you're arguing, you're not touching, so you're not connecting. That person is now opposition. It's not like y'all in it together. Y'all fighting each other. And so in the recent argument, I held his hand and it was still going higher and higher and higher. And then one of my biggest things was, you're yelling. And naturally, I'm going to tell you, I met John's family. When I went in the house, his sister came in the house and she was talking to his dad and they were hollering, according to my household. And I was like, your dad and your sister are yelling. He was like, no, this is just how we talk. And so to him, a raised voice doesn't trigger the same thing in you as it does in me. And so I like holding his hand didn't make it stop. And so then I hugged you and he was still talking. And I was like, and I put my mouth by your ear and I said, I'm right here. Now you don't have to yell. Now tell me what it is you want to say to me. But the emotions had gotten too high by then for that last ditch effort.
You know, and I know we haven't spoken about it for real, but I think I told you, like, that's what I always wanted to do.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I was like, no, it worked. It didn't reap a benefit immediately.
Yeah.
But like, even that night, I figured out like what it was. You won't ever have to go through that again. And the reason why I know that it won't happen again, because I had a chance to do it the other night. And I was like, she has not told me to lower my voice. And I was like,
I'm so proud of myself. Yeah. Well, yes. And I do recall that.
But I want you to know, like, I'm sorry. Like when you hugged me, like I said, I wanted to do that to you because I want to cover you. But you eventually, you made me feel like you shouldn't have to do that for me. And that's the reason why I had to change his behavior, because I should be protecting you.
Well, you know, one of the things about it was, I'm going to be honest. If you argue, and nobody thinks about this in the heat of the moment. If you do, I commend you. But if you're arguing and you hold hands, or if somebody is yelling and you can get to the point where you can hug them and y'all can talk right at each other's ear, it changed my whole, like, I was pissed. But it was like I needed the sound to stop. And so, but it made me feel differently, because even though you were still like really anxious about what you were trying to say, you were still holding on to me really tight, you know, and it made a difference in, even when we stopped hugging, it didn't get the resolve that I wanted, but the energy was different.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was, I would do it again if I could think about doing it in the moment.
Yeah, I think you would. I think, what's crazy is that the game with me is to not ever have you do that with me again.
I know. But there are going to be times when we're going to feel very passionate about things. There oftentimes, and I think that's one of the things about you and I, is that we definitely agree on the end, where we want to end up, but we don't always agree with how to get there in the small little details of how to approach something. And depending on what we're talking about and how passionate we are about it, we're not going to always agree. So there will be disagreements.
Yeah, I don't think I'm worried about the disagreement. I'm just talking that when you can get in a conversation with somebody where you forget who you're talking to because you're caught up in what you're talking about. And I don't want to ever forget I'm talking to my wife. You know, like I still want my point, but at the same time, you don't have to feel a certain type of way because I'm sharing my passion. You can feel my passion without feeling like you being beat up. You know what I'm saying? So me, I have to be able to somehow say it to you where you like, yeah.
Well, and to be clear, at that time I was yelling by then too. So it's not like, you know, it was just you. It's just like, you know how you argue with somebody and you're so frustrated because you just want them to understand that one part and you can't get it. And like the louder it got, it was like eventually I felt like I was matching it. And they say you're not supposed to match it. match whatever energy, you try to maintain your own, and then it'll bring it down. I don't necessarily know if that happens. I don't know, but
I think when you could do that with other people. It's just me.
What do you mean?
Like, people don't get loud with you.
Oh no, they don't. But
that's what I'm saying. Like, me is because I'm like the outlier of what you got to deal with. But being that you got to deal with over the years, you've been able to like manage groups and things really easy because you know what it could look like, and you know if it's getting there, you could defuse it.
Yeah.
So I think that because we go through that, it's just because of me trying to get to you. I'm practicing my bad habits still, but it's still not acceptable communication. So if I need to correct that.
Well, and it's not that I don't think that you try.
Oh, no, I know. I'm just saying that you don't have to deal with.
Oh, but I mean, who does? Like in your work life, who really be hollering? I don't know. In my field, of course, no one would need to be as passionate with me about anything where it might take them a little bit outside of themselves. Nobody needs that. Like, they wouldn't interact with me at all. I just get that little lead teams meeting. But that's really where I am with that. And then with my friends, I keep things, and my friends do too, very light. We don't talk about anything that would rouse us into an argument. I don't think I probably have had 2 arguments with friends my entire life. And so
I think that you don't realize how good of a person, how good you are at managing conversations. For you to say 2 in your whole life, I think you know the signs of where it's going and you can steer away from it. You're like, oh, because you are very good at reading rooms and energy from people that's not even talking.
Yeah. Somebody told me some people call it being an empath or whatever, when you can come into a room and already zero in on where there may be trouble, or others will say, if you've ever had an unpredictable parent, kids learn how to manage high stress situations if they have unpredictable parents, because the parent is in power and control. And so you're small. So you got to figure out how to navigate people with big feelings, and they're bigger than you. And so my dad was an unpredictable parent. And so I had to figure out, how do you navigate that? And I think that that's why I steer clear of, like, when we first met, one of the things that was funny, one of the first conversations we had was, I was like, I don't like to argue. And he was like, oh, me neither. The lie detector determines.
I didn't like to argue. It just happened that I argued a lot. I didn't like it.
Sometimes you'd be like, let me, y'all, watch how many fires I can set real quick.
But it wasn't what it was almost like I was purposely doing. No, I just knew that I could create a different view. They could still be right and everybody would still think their view was correct. Mm-hmm. So to me, I felt like you can't be 100% on anything. Then I can show you a reason why. And I just want to see how long they're going to stand there. But so I didn't argue. I didn't want to argue. I just was like, why are you really, come on. Like, you're just going too far now. Like, to me, I feel like everybody else was willing to stand on their belief system. Versus just considering it could be another way.
Okay.
Just be considered, like, other people could look at it this way. Mm. No, they're wrong.
Well, it's when it came to, that was definitely you and your interactions with people, but when it came to your interaction with me, we didn't argue about anything. We rarely did in our younger years.
Oh, yeah.
But, complexities of marriage and parenting, it makes it a little bit different.
Yeah, you'll find you have to. Mm-hmm. Like, unless you just believe, even if we grew up exact same, like, we're going to have conflicts of what we think should work.
Yeah.
So, just coming, and plus, the disguise, what is it? I guess the disguises I had that tricked you. You know what I'm saying? Like, and when I say that, I mean, growing up in our era, in our time, it was like finding, like, women were supposed to find a man that got a degree, was working, had his own stuff.
Yeah.
And I felt like I got the things that everybody says, and that was it. So to me, I was sliced bread.
Yeah.
So to me, I really did. I was like, these are the things that people told me I was supposed to get.
Yeah, he checked the boxes that were required.
And in my head, I was like, that's how I moved too. I was just like, shoot, better check it out. The resume says this. In my head, I'm like,
better check it out.
Hey, for real, because I'm like, if you told me that this is the things that you were supposed to have, I was like, I wanted it. You know what I'm saying? So to me, I was just kind of distracted by it. If I could get all of these things, then I could just be me later.
Yeah. Well, you weren't fighting fair in the beginning.
I wasn't. I didn't know the rules, and
definitely resume looking. You snuck through the back door. However, even though when I met your family, they were hollering, and it was like trying to get me to understand the culture of your family. Like you're really one to shift cultures, I can tell, because you picked up so many things from different people around you. And then even in the marriage, like talking about how you're growing and learning how to navigate, like you're learning how to fight fair. Well, and fair is different depending on who your opponent is. Because yelling, if I had grown up in a house where raised voices didn't really impact me that much, that might not have been as much of a issue. You know, that
would probably be going back and forth.
Oh, yeah.
And then we wouldn't have worked.
And no, we wouldn't.
Yeah.
Okay, point taken. You got to have a little bit of mild and a little bit of spicy. I don't know. Too spicy don't make it.
No, it's going to take for one of them to mature and say, hey, I probably shouldn't be like this anymore. Yeah. Because if you're both like that, it's hard to grow when both of you got the same communication problem.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
So if you were to name two things that are fighting fair, or two things that have to be off the table in order to say we're fighting fair, what would they be?
I'm not for sure how to answer it. Can I hear you and then maybe?
Okay, one thing I think has to be off the table, and we've talked about this a number of times, is no silent treatment.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That should not ever be an option unless you just don't know that should be an option. Like, it should not ever be an option.
No silent treatment, and I don't want that to be confused with taking a timeout.
Correct.
Like, so how would you define a timeout versus a silent treatment?
You give somebody you give them a time span that you need where you don't want to interact, so you can get your thoughts together to process what happened, so that you don't say anything wrong. So just like, give me a couple hours, or hey, I'll talk to you tomorrow.
So my thing is, oh, I'm good. And then I turn around and walk out of the room.
And it ain't ever, I'm good. Like, okay, I got you. Like,
oh, I'm good. Oh, yeah. But see, now me saying I'm good, it could lead to like 3 days of not talking.
No, it can't be more than 2.
I know. I haven't done that.
And it's been some time.
Oh, it's been some time. So, but even if I say, okay, it's not as good as you saying, I'm going to need a minute. Like, your response was better than how I practice. If I were to say, okay, we're going to have to time, I need a minute.
Yeah, if you say I'm going to need, like, I need a minute. I mean, you don't even have to give. You gave a time span, but it don't have to be 60 seconds. You know what I'm saying? I know that if it's longer than a minute, like, we probably both needed a minute. You know?
Yeah, it might be a couple hours.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
but you can't assume your partner knows that, though.
Right.
You and I know.
Well, I think if I say I'm good and I turn around and walk out, that doesn't necessarily mean I'm talking about timeout. That's a possible silent treatment moment. And
I feel like that's kind of like you dictated the end of the conversation.
Yeah,
and I don't think that's fair.
Oh yeah, because I don't wait for a response.
You just said I'm good.
I turn and burn up in this mug. Turn and burn. Get up out that mug. Mm-hmm. But I guess So I guess the not only being able to take time out, but giving the other person the respect of like, not just walk it out on them. Like, look, I need a moment, but that also requires the other person to allow you to have it. Mm-hmm. And be like, nah, I ain't ready to stop talking.
Yeah.
Be like, okay, so now I'm about to turn around for real.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's one of the things that has to be off the table.
Yeah.
no silent treatment, but on the table, being able to take a break and the other person respecting it.
Absolutely. I think if both of you go into it, it may not start off immediately, but it'll get better. Both of you guys will notice the growth in what you guys agree to, because bad practices are hard to shake when you're learning new practices. So definitely. And I'll tell you this. I remember it was a time where she and I wasn't doing so well, and I was wondering like what's going to keep her. And I said, hey, like, what was going to keep you staying around? And she was like, as long as you were getting better. If I saw you getting better, I feel like, why would I leave if you're getting better? So I'm telling you, men, women, if you are somebody who is truly trying to turn a relationship around and you're supposed to improve, if they leave, it's because you did not try to get better, in my mind, or you didn't move fast enough, or it wasn't enough time left. But typically your partner will want to watch you improve.
Yeah.
And if you're improving, they wouldn't leave. I don't think. So yeah, I think that's pretty good.
So what's one thing you'd say on the table is fair, off the table because it's not fair?
I think on the table, like if you say you need a minute or whatnot, you probably should come up with like some maybe trigger words to know that you're getting to that point. Like, you know, like if you know that you are like about to say, I need a minute. It didn't sneak up on you.
Oh, no.
So I need you need to start talking to your partner like, okay, we need to start thinking how long it takes for you to even get to that point. Because I don't even want you to get to that point. You know what I'm saying?
But when you're in the heat of it.
No, I get it. But I'm just saying, I think our conversation should be more, it should be a lot more like sensible versus just we're together. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So if it go 1 to 10, like I don't have to go fast with you. That's what I'm saying. This is how we learn how to talk to each other. That's why I said, like, if you can know that, hey, okay. Because you don't just say, I'm going to need a minute. It's a accumulation of things. It's like, I ain't keep going to deal with this.
So let me ask you this. In the past, I used to unsheath my sword. Is that when I needed a minute, or was that leading up to when
No, you're unsheathing your sword. You fight. You want to fight. Now you don't want to fight.
Well,
I'm fighting. Yeah, that's it. I'm giving it back to you.
I was a clown, but yeah. I hear you on that one. There is a point where you see that it's turning and it's about to get rough.
That's what I'm saying. So if you could we could just, like, even if we like some type of temperature, like, what happened? Why do I feel like this? Even like you just zone out and not listen, like, hey, I'm feeling something. And I feel like the only way you can do that is if you say it out loud to know maybe I'm supposed to look for it, because you're not going to get it immediately. But if you don't look for it, it's not going to ever happen. Okay.
So let's try. If I feel like it's about to, this is one thing I will say. In my head, I'd be like, oh, he getting hype. Now, at some point I can talk about that later, but when I'm thinking of that, I could try to hold your hand because it's about to get. Yeah, and that would let me know. The boat is about to start turning. If you grab my hand, I don't, like, if you grabbing my hand, I know that I've gone too far because. We about to. No, not that, because I didn't want you to grab my hand. You got to grab my hand because we're just in a good place, not because the triggers happen. Whoa, buddy. That's what I'm saying. I don't want that to get to that point. Yeah, I hear you. Okay. Something off the table. You shouldn't be cursing at each other. Yeah, that takes it off the scales. Like, if you're cursing at each other, that's probably, they're going to take the curse words more than you just describe and whatever. It's going to be that much worse. Cursing, no name calling. And I'm saying this because a lot of times we say things, not that we practice that, but off the table for people. I've heard people argue with each other and they say things to each other that it may be very well the truth, but it wasn't released that way. It was like you felt that way, and it's like it causes dissension in your relationship. It makes it real weak in certain areas, like a lack of trust, and you can't be vulnerable with somebody you can't trust. So you got to watch how you really address each other, because this is the person you're supposed to be with. You can't call them in a name that could hurt their feelings because you're supposed to protect those. Yeah, that's some daggers right there. That makes it even worse. Yeah. Yeah. that though, you throw those words in, and truthfully, people would say, why cuss? Why cuss? It really adds extra fire to how you feel. When you don't feel like you have the big words to match the big feelings, you be like, I'm about to put this MF up in this month. So then you
could curse better. Serious. And you could cuss better and you wrong, but you would shut the person down that's right, because you got really, it's like you was a bear. It's like, mother.
Yeah, and that's really how it goes down. It's like, now it's like, how am I going to intimidate this situation? Because I want to make it really, really big. And it's a monster. Yeah, you start using those words, it takes a whole different turn. And then how do you recover from that? When you come down and the emotions come down, like, you really thought about me like that? Like, you must have called me that in your head a million times over. You must have thought that about me a million times over. And then, like, I can understand what you're saying. It weakens, because it's like, dang, look, I don't know. Like, that's like talking to people like they somebody off the street.
Like, you know too much information about about me, and then you said these things.
Yeah, and then you added this on top of it to just, it's like, dang, hate me or not. Like
this is what I'm saying. Like, even though you do feel that way, the way it comes out could make it seem worse than what you really wanted to say. It was just, that was some unfortunate stuff to come out. You could feel the same way, but it didn't have to come out that way.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, for example, if I said that you were overweight, or I was like, yo, you know what I'm saying? Like, I've never said that, right. You know what I'm saying? But if I say that in an argument, where did that come from?
Be like, oh, even worse, be like, yo.
That's what I'm saying. I was just saying, like, whatever.
And cuss, yeah. That right there, the dagger.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So it's like,
like, oh God.
Like, you know too much about a person to just let loose things come out of your mouth where, even if they're wrong, somebody's got to be mature if you're going to grow. If not, like, you shouldn't even be in a relationship.
Yeah, I don't want nobody who's going to take
it a step. Like, you can't go further than me. You're supposed to, like, stop us from going that far.
Yeah, and then take a cheap shot to purposefully hurt me. That, to me, that's a pointless relationship. Yeah.
It's like, you can't be petty with me. Like, I didn't try to be petty. Even if I was, you can say, hey, don't do that anymore. If we're going to, like, be in this together, the pettiness I can't be a part of, because I could be really petty and you may not recover. And so you shouldn't play with somebody that way, because you never know how meaningless your petty is when somebody can get real petty and it hurts your feelings. You're like, I would never thought he would have done that to me. And you're like, dang.
And I think sometimes people do that. I think that they push hard, and then when somebody pushes back harder, it's like, but you open the door.
Yeah.
Like, you open the door, and I don't know if it's good or not, because then it's like it's revealing to you what someone's capable of, but you also reveal what you're capable of too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's no cussing.
Please don't. I mean, if you care about the person, you shouldn't. If you're cursing in any type of argument, you probably should take a few moments, take a couple hours.
If you get to cussing, they forgot all about your other rule. It was like, hey, before it get too deep.
But some people just curse regularly. If you curse regularly, and then look, if you curse
on the culture of the.
So if you cuss on a regular basis, don't curse in your arguing.
That's hard to do.
Oh, I know, but at least the person will know this person's really trying to be serious, because they curse. Like, it won't be offended. They won't be offended.
Well, I guess we would definitely say, I agree with that. I think that, and in our relationship, that's something that's off the table. But in a relationship where people regularly cuss words come out their mouth left and right, it's not going to have as much of a weight on them in their arguing as it might us. However, still saying stuff in order to purposefully hurt someone and calling them out. Yeah, that part, that continues on. But yeah, cussing, I just can't. Cussing feels like, oh, so we really about to fight now. I ain't turning and burning. I'm about to box.
Return that energy.
And it is. It's like, okay, so now is who can be bigger and better? Who can hurt more? You just be ripping somebody apart.
What you don't realize is that you're both getting hurt.
Heck yeah.
How about this? If you say you're not getting hurt, you shouldn't be in a relationship. Because if she's getting hurt and I'm responsible for it and I come out of it, like, what was I thinking? I don't ever want to hurt her. And guess what? Like, if I want to get her back, I want to make sure she don't do it again. Why would I hurt her even more? And I know, like, most people don't realize that's what it looked like because they're in it. And he was like, I'm passionate, or, you know, I was mad, I saw red. Well, you need to correct that because people are getting hurt. You create having casualties around you, and that's an energy you don't want to be around. So if you want the relationship to grow, everybody should consider the language they use when they're addressing any situation, good or bad.
Agree.
Thank you for that. That was a pretty good conversation right there.
Oh, you're welcome. You know, do I?
Anybody going to give a shout out before we get out of here?
No, not today.
All right. I want to give a shout out to all of y'all who be kicking it with us. We really do be enjoying these conversations. I really believe at some point we'll have stuff just set up throughout the house where we could just start talking, because we have different, like, little places in our home where we just like to lay up, and I be feeling like we be having some good conversation, and we just gonna push record and give y'all a different vibe at some point.
Oh my God. This is a little invasive, but okay.
Well, you know, I guess I want people to see, like, we talk like this all the time.
Yeah.
You know, and it can be fun.
Yeah.
You know, I remember at the beginning, I know we're about to get out of here, but there was a time she did not want to talk to me that often.
Absolutely did not.
Look, and then when I be like, hey, and she's like, oh, what are you about to say? Like, I know, because you can just see somebody be like, hey, can I ask you a question? Be like,
yeah.
And I'm like, you know, when you look at that, you don't even have to see the person. You can just, hey, can I ask you a question? You just be like, yeah. Like, you'll hear a pause and like a small gulp that wasn't loud enough, but it was
you
like,
didn't know where it was going to lead.
And guess what? And that's the way it sounded too.
Yeah.
Like, where is this going? And I didn't even ask anything.
Look, it was guaranteed to probably not be something I wanted.
But it was all intentional. I just wanted to be able to ask as many questions as possible in the beginning, because it was like me knowing what my boundary was, like what's okay to talk about. I've learned what not to talk about, but at some point I remember deciding that we could talk about anything if I said it in a tone that didn't sound like I was judging or attacking or feeling like my way was the way she needed to be looking at it as. So learning that part, I think, made it a lot easier for us to have a lot more of the conversations we do have. Yeah. But y'all make today better than yesterday. Don't worry about anything you can't control. GATA. Get after that action, or that action will get after you. Be great on purpose.